Hey, vinyl community, Joe here again. And last night and today, my wife had need to go to the various Goodwill stores to look for a couple things. And hey, I'll go look at records with you while you're doing that. In my last video, I was telling you about some 45s I had found, and that I wasn't sure I was going to keep collecting 45s, but that I might see how it went. And lo and behold, if I didn't come home with more 45s today. These were some good ones, I think. Let's see what you think on these. In the last video, I told you I had one Beatles 45. I now have my second. Came home with a very clean copy of Paperback Writer by the Beatles, backed with Rain. I have gone ahead and cleaned this. It did not look like this when I got it home. It was pretty filthy, but cleaned it up, plays like a dream, and these are two of my favorite Beatle tracks. And Rain has some of Ringo's mightiest drumming, so really, really happy to find this. 49 cents paid for that. My first Apple record in my 2.0 collection. Here is John Lennon's solo with Instant Karma. In fact, it's John Ono Lennon on the A side, and on the B side is Yoko Ono Lennon with Who Has Seen the Wind. And one thing I really like about this, you see here, on the A side it says play loud, and on the B side it says play soft. That's nice to find. I think this is slightly warped. I have not tried to spin this yet, but I don't think it'll be. I think it won't interfere with playing. It's nice and clean, and I'm going to try to flatten it out a little bit if I need to, but I think it'll play just fine. And in my original vinyl collection, I did not have very many 45s. As I mentioned, I've never really been drawn to them that much, but I did have this one, and now I have it again. And you're going to laugh, but it is the Partridge Family, I Think I Love You, which is just one of those amazing, cheesy pop songs of the 70s that I really like. My tastes are quite mainstream in terms of 60s and 70s pop, so I apologize for that. Not really, I don't. And here's one I was glad to see. I'm not an Elvis fan. I've never really have been an Elvis fan, primarily because he does not write his own material, which has always kind of bugged me. But here is a nice original RCA of All Shook Up. It's pretty filthy, but it looks pretty good, considering it was found in a thrift store with no sleeve. It looks like it'll play just fine. And on the flip side, we have what is this? That's When Your Heartache Began, which is a song I don't know. So glad to take that. And I don't know if I'll keep this. I would rather get this into the hands of someone who will love it more than I will. Yeah, I'm foster homing this record right now until it finds its forever home. So I didn't want to leave it in a thrift store. There are a few Elvis songs I like, such as Heartbreak Hotel and That's All Right Mama. And if I found either of those, I'd keep it. But really, records for me are not something to grab and hold on to. They are for listening, and I don't really want to add a record to my permanent collection if I'm not going to listen to it. And, along the same lines, I picked up another Elvis. This is an Elvis EP. It's actually got 6 songs on here, side 1 and side 2. They are all from, what does it say here? From the movie Kid Galahad from United Artists. So I guess this was a soundtrack EP. So let me run down these songs. I don't know any of these songs. Side 1 has King of the Whole Wide World, This Is Living, and Riding the Rainbow. And side 2 has Home Is Where the Heart Is, I Got Lucky, and A Whistling Tune. And this, if anything, looks in better shape than All Shook Up. I have not cleaned this yet, but you can see it's got some dirt kind of in it, but that's dirt, not scratches. I do see some light surface scratches, but clean this up, get it in a sleeve. Somebody will enjoy this. Not going to be me, but someone will. So, hope to get that record off to someone who will enjoy it more than I will. This was a nice find on Chess Records. This is Johnny Be Good by Chuck Berry. This is not an original. It's got a copyright date of 1972 on here, and the flip side is My Dingaling. So, two great tracks on a 45. Even if it's not original, I'm very happy to have it. I love Chuck Berry. Good stuff. And now I have to share two sad stories here. um, in the 80s, a band called Bananarama had a big hit with a song called Venus. I'm your Venus, I'm your fire, what's your desire? But that was a cover, and the original song had been done in the 60s by a band called The Shocking Blue, Venus. And I love this song. I love both the cover version and the original. I was very happy to find this. But I didn't notice until I got home what I took to be just a light surface scratch is, I'm not sure if it shows up, it's actually cracked. A hairline crack all the way through. And if I touch my finger to it, let me see, it's right here. I don't know if that's coming through. There, now I think you can see it. I really can feel the separation there. So I don't even think I'm going to try to play this. Maybe this will go on my wall just as a decoration. I love the label, Colossus Records. It's a beautiful label. But that's just one of those things. Sometimes you're digging through boxes and you don't always notice a little thing like that. And made me sad. That was one of my two sad things. But the other thing that made me sadder, these records had just been put out when I got there, and that wasn't by design. That's the way it worked out with the timing. And so there were actually a couple of other people looking at the records with me. So I happened to grab those. I don't know what the other people grabbed, but I found a copy of, you remember the old Phil Phillips song, Sea of Love? Do you remember when we met? That's the day I knew you were my pet. I had that. I had it in my hand. And I put it on my pile. And I know at least once while I was looking, I would see out of the corner of my eye someone start looking through my pile, and I would say, "Oh, those are mine. Oh, I'm sorry," and then they would move away. So I don't know if someone accidentally grabbed that record off my pile. Because I was really excited to bring that home. I love that song. And that would have been a good find for my collection. But I don't have it now. So, intentionally or not, someone else took that record home when I had already laid claim to it. So, boo. I hope it skips on your turntable, sir or ma'am, whoever it was. So, that's what I came home with for 45s today. Those were 49 cents each, even the Elvis EP with 6 songs. And I grabbed a few LPs as well. I'll show you these. Most of these were, well, they have prices. I'll show you. You're going to think less of me if that's even possible. But come on, I grew up in the 80s. I mean, we all had George Michael's Faith, didn't we? I did. Now I have it again. A really nice copy in really good shape. So I've had this album, never on vinyl, but I've had it on both CD and cassette over the years. And it's in my iTunes now, my MP3s. So nice to have that on vinyl. That's a record my wife also likes a lot. So I have an amazing wife who's like really supportive of this vinyl thing. So I like to pick up things that I think we both will enjoy from time to time. And in fact, I don't know if you can see. Let me see here. Do you see my little stereo right up here? And you see the screen is reversed for me, but right where my finger is pointing right now, this stack of records right here, those are my wife's. She has started her own little vinyl collection at the same time I have. And she's into different kinds of things than I am. She's into show tunes and children's records like Sesame Street and Muppets and things like that. So this is one that I picked up for 50 cents, figuring that one or both of us would enjoy it. I don't like My Fair Lady very much, but I do like Nat King Cole. And this was a really nice copy. Nat King Cole sings My Fair Lady, original Capitol pressing. And as you see, the cover, it looks really, really sharp. Just again, it's all reversed for me, but Right over here, a little tiny black on the cover, just a little bit of ring wear. But it's original capital pressing, beautiful condition. The spine is, still very good, very readable. The tops and bottoms. This is the way you want to find a 1960s album. So hopefully she will enjoy listening to that. Hope I will not hate it either. This is one I was happy to see. I found this today. This is a triple record set, Diana Ross and the Supremes Anthology. It's a double gatefold, just like the Woodstock album, if you've ever seen that. 3 LPs here, and very, very thorough. In fact, right now, think of your favorite Diana Ross and the Supremes song. Now say it out loud. That's on this album, that one you just said. It's very thorough, very complete. And that was $1.99. That was my expensive purchase for today, for a 3-record set. Now, this is one I thought was kind of interesting here. I have 2 records that I found on the Coronet label. Coronet. The Ink Spots, again, another very nice cover from looks like the 60s. I don't think there's a date on here, but nice white. You don't often see white album covers hold up this well. They usually have ring wear and things, but notice, Coronet Records, the left spine is completely split open. And remember that, because we're going to talk about that again in just a moment. But here's a beautiful label. I've always loved this Coronet label. The red and silver. Very nice. Kind of nice little R&B. I will enjoy that, I think. And then, those of you who know me know I'm also a huge movie fan, especially classic films. So it only made sense to pick up music from the silent films for 50 cents. And this is also Coronet Records here. And again, the left side, look, split wide open. In fact, I can take the record out from either side on this one. So I just thought that was funny. Is that something with Coronet Records, that their albums, the spines never held up very well? And I want to share this one little bit because I think it's so funny. They go on and on here about like how awesome their monophonic sound is. And how patronizing is this? Let's go back to the days of the silent films when every housewife had 2 loves, her husband and Rudolph Valentino. Dad waited anxiously each week for a new episode of The Perils of Pauline, and Junior became the first Western serial fan. Those good old silent films with that wonderful piano music to set the mood, etc., etc. So, I just thought that was funny, but I tried to do some research on this album. There's no year on it, and I'm thinking it's probably a 50s album, but I looked up on Discogs, Discogs.com, probably most of you know that, the great online resource for record collecting, and they showed a copy of this album, but they showed the inner label, and they showed the red and silver label I just showed you, but my copy is on this black and white label. I have not cleaned this yet, as you can see, but I would love to find out more about this album. It looks, just the way the wording is, the fonts and everything, to me it looks like a 50s record. And I would just love to know. But also, when researching this LP, I found several LPs with the same name on different labels and with the same track listing, but with different performers listed. Like this one, it says it's these tracks are performed by the Professor, aka Charlie Ivory Williams. And I know if you search on the title of the album, Music from the Silent Films, you will find other LPs with the same track listing but different performer names. So I don't know if more than one pianist recorded this album or if it was they just called it the artist whoever they wanted. But last thing I'll say is I actually looked on Amazon to see if other copies of this were available, thinking maybe I could get a replacement cover cheap. And other people are selling it, but most of them in their comments, they say cover splitting, your spine not intact. So it really just seems to be something with this album or with Coronet Records from this time period. The spines just did not hold up. And Okay, last thing I have here for you. This was also 50 cents, but this was a 3 LP set. And one of the things I haven't really mentioned is that I am actually a 78 collector as well. And when my vinyl collection got trashed, my Victrola, I have a 1925 Victrola, the floor, crank it up, play your 78s. I love big band and swing, so I still collected those. I did lose some of my 78s, including my rock and roll. I had my Jerry Lee Lewis and my Johnny Cash and my Little Richard and guys like that. I had all of those with my vinyl, and they were ruined. But my other stuff inside the Victrola, which was in a different room, was fine. So here is a 3 LP box set here. The big bands, George T. Simon. Cover is not in great shape. This is the top of the box. And it's like if you ever see George Harrison's All Things Must Pass out in the wild, the box always looks awful like this. But here you can even see it looks like a little bit of mold, which I'm going to have to clean up. But there is some awfully good stuff on this set. Again, the records themselves are great. No scratching, just dusty. Very, very dusty. But they look great. But as you see, I'm going to have to trash all of these sleeves. And fortunately, I have replacement sleeves. So I'm going to clean these tonight, trash those sleeves, and see what I can do about the mold on that box. But this is, full of stuff like Benny Goodman, Tommy Dorsey. Who else we have on here? Jimmy Dorsey, Lionel Hampton. All the great big band swing stuff that I love so much. But what I find really interesting about this set is that 3 LPs, each LP is on a different label. So LP number 1 is on Decca, as you see. And LP number 2 is on RCA Victor. So there's number 2, his master's voice. Excuse me. And by the way, it specifies this is a monaural recording in case you thought your 1930s big band swing might somehow be in stereo or even 5.1 surround sound. But disc 3 is Columbia. So very nice, and that's the old school I label there, which I like. I don't see too often because I'm poor and I can't afford like the nice Bob Dylan original pressings. So nice to see these. Enjoyed those labels, and this will be a set I enjoy a lot after I clean it up. Hopefully, it's going to play just fine. It looks like it will. So that's it for me today, and that takes you current on what I've purchased recently. I do have stuff from before I joined the vinyl community that I will retroactively upload when I can. But that's it for me for now, and thanks a lot.